Hello there, friends. Welcome to Jamaica Magazine, and I'm your host, Theodore Henry. So glad you've joined us for another great weekend show. And there's so much to unpack over the next half hour, so sit back and relax. It all unfolds right after this quick message. We all must share a common vision for a better world and do our part to create the change we seek. Many Jamaicans dedicate their lives to this transformation, and we now share the story of one of them.
Driven by a passion for excellence and a posture for positive change, Dr. Jacqueline McKenzie has spearheaded significant improvements in Jamaica's public health system during her over 20-year tenure.
What drives me is my goal to make things better. I am not about coming into a position and accepting what is there. I don't accept the status quo. I believe that if things need to be changed, then we should recognize it and we should do something about it.
Her outstanding contribution to the work of securing the health of the Jamaican population and saving lives, particularly in the management of the COVID-19 pandemic, and her work in emergency disaster management and emergency medical services has been recognized by the government. For these works, she was awarded Jamaica's 6th highest honor, the Order of Distinction in the rank of Commander, on National Heroes Day 2022.
It is really something to be recognized by your country for the work that you do. Realizing that you're not carrying out the work to get an award, you're really carrying out the work to the best of your ability. And for that to be recognized is a great honor. I mean, the work is not my work alone. This award is a culmination of a lot of events in my life that I think a lot of persons have contributed to.
Dr. McKenzie has amassed 25 years of experience in the healthcare system and counting. Her achievement comes in the wake of much preparation and hard work. She earned her bachelor's degree in science, medicine and surgery, as well as a master's degree in public health and Doctor of Medicine in emergency medicine at the University of the West Indies. Dr. McKenzie has represented Jamaica at various national, regional and international meetings. She also served as a member of the Caribbean Health Disaster Coordinators Committee, on the board of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management ODPEM, and as president of the Jamaica Emergency Medicine Association. After medical school, she became a medical officer in the Accident and Emergency Department at the Spanish Town Hospital, where she completed her internship. In 2000, Dr. McKenzie pursued postgraduate training in emergency medicine at the University of the West Indies and returned to work at Spanish Town Hospital as head of the Accident and Emergency Department. She served there for 10 years.
It was an exciting time because I had the opportunity to make several changes in the Accident and Emergency Department at Spanish Town Hospital, really making it a place where emergency medicine was practiced.
Her interest in emergency management was noticed by the Ministry of Health, and Dr. McKenzie was recruited in 2014 to join the team there as the Director of Emergency Medical Services (EMS), which was a fairly new specialty area at the time. While in the position, she revived interest in the pre-hospital emergency services and collaborated with the Jamaica Fire Brigade and the Tourism Enhancement Fund to expand the service in Portmore, Ocho Rios, and St. Anne's Bay.
Working in the emergency department for several years, practicing emergency medicine, you do realize that patients do come to you late. And sometimes the opportunity for doing more for them once they get there, the impact is less because they would have been out in the field for a long period after an accident or after having an event at home like a stroke, a heart attack. People are not sensitized enough to come early so that we can be able to intervene early. And there is a golden hour, after an incident happens, that if you intervene, the outcomes are going to be better. So having experienced that in the emergency department, you certainly would want, once given that opportunity, to bring them in earlier.
Under the Pre-Hospital Emergency Services Program, first responders are trained in life support to be able to recognize what's happening to clients and make appropriate interventions.
And my hope is that that will continue to grow from strength to strength as we get more sites on, so that Jamaican people will have the opportunity to be able to call an ambulance when they need assistance and be able to take them to hospital under care.
During her tenure, Dr. McKenzie played a significant role in Jamaica's preparedness for the threat of the Ebola virus and management of viral outbreaks such as the Zika, chikungunya, and dengue. In 2018, Dr. McKenzie was promoted to Chief Medical Officer, and her main interest since has been in strengthening the health system. Since February 2020, she has been at the forefront of managing the COVID-19 pandemic. Over the 2 years of the pandemic, she has been known for her critical analytical skills and swift, decisive actions.
We were able to detect early, we were able to contain, we were able to put in place measures, we responded early. And I think that saved a lot of lives and really protected the health system as well. So our vision for 2030 is healthy people, healthy environment. Our core values at the Ministry of Health and Wellness include integrity, honesty, quality. And so therefore, in moving forward, I think that if everybody has the vision as their vision, and if we develop a culture that embodies our core values, then I think that we will move forward in terms of delivering quality, comprehensive care to our population.
Every Jamaican has the right to know what is happening in Parliament, to know when new laws are being passed, and to give their opinions on legislation before either house.
Every Jamaican has the right to see their representatives in action, making laws, holding the executive to account, representing the people, working for the benefit of all Jamaicans.
It is your right to observe first-hand meetings of the Senate, meetings of the House of Representatives, and the meetings of parliamentary committees. You may also take a tour of your parliament.
To find out more about the Houses of Parliament, please call 876-922-0200, follow us on Instagram and Facebook, or visit our website at www.japarliament.gov.jm.
It's Diabetes Awareness Month, and you should know that this preventable health condition can be devastating, but it doesn't need to be. Up next, we learn about the impact of diabetes on one's health and how to prevent or treat the condition.
Diabetes is a serious chronic lifestyle disease affecting millions of people over the world and continues to increase. Diabetes affects how your body turns food into energy. It is a disease in which your blood glucose or blood sugar levels are too high, and glucose comes from the food you eat. Insulin is a hormone that helps the glucose get into your cells to give energy. Sometimes your body doesn't make enough or any at all, doesn't make any insulin, and so it doesn't use the insulin well. Glucose then stays in your blood and doesn't reach your cells. Over time, having too much glucose in your blood can cause complications. Example, situations with the kidney, heart disease, and so on. Although diabetes has no cure, there are steps you can take to manage your diabetes and stay healthy.
It is through lifestyle that we manage the risk of diabetes. Those behaviors include increased physical activity, a healthy diet, routine health checks, and strict adherence to medication. The ministry will be championing the cause of persons living with diabetes. We have updated our clinical management guidelines, which is now available on our website, and we will be working on increasing access to testing through the introduction of point-of-care testing. This methodology of testing is the gold standard for monitoring and control of diabetes. Our agency, the National Health Fund, will continue to support persons through the provision of diabetic medication and supplies, and I encourage persons with diabetes to enroll in the NHF card program to access this benefit.
The person with diabetes should really have an opportunity to sit down with a trained clinician who is able to help them to understand the concepts of diabetes self-management, education, and support. There are 4 core areas the patient must begin to understand. How and when to take medication. That's the first one. If you take insulin, then you need to know how does your insulin work and how do you eat in relation to the insulin. Then there are the people who have type 2 diabetes, which commonly start off with education on activity and just healthy nutrition. And then we add 1 of 5 classes of oral agents. And then we teach them how to make food, how to eat food. Also, we think of things like target blood pressure. Is your weight healthy, or do you need to lose a little weight? And most importantly, how do you feel? What is your quality of life? All of this is what we focus on. Also, when you get your lab work done, what is your hemoglobin A1C? The target should be 7% or less. Keep that number in your mind. Diabetes damages the feet, the kidney, and the eyes at first, and then eventually we also find it can cause coronary vascular disease too. But for foot care, the person with diabetes every day, you wash your feet, wash them properly. Dry your feet, dry between the toes. Moisturize your feet, but do not put moisturizer between the toes. Make sure that you wear cotton socks, right? If you're going to have your toes cut by somebody trained who knows how to cut them. Examine your feet every day. Do not walk barefoot. Please, please, please do not walk barefooted, because if you injure or cause trauma to the feet, you may not feel it because your diabetes has damaged the nerves to the feet. And finally, when you buy shoes that are comfortable and that you can wear without causing blisters or trauma to the feet. Now we have research that shows that I can prevent the eye damage, the kidney damage, the foot damage, and the amputations by just keeping my blood glucoses under control and taking care of myself.
such thing as a diabetic diet, but it's all about how much I eat, the timing of my meals. So it's your portion sizes is what is important. Now, what we do recommend is that persons eat at least 3 balanced meals per day and small snacks. Snacks usually mean smaller, more nourishing meals, which we usually recommend that it be your fruits, your vegetables, or you can also use your nuts. Each meal or snack should contain protein because we need it to be balanced as well. Each meal should contain at least your protein and your fat, and we also want them to select a variety of foods from all the food groups. So there is some recommendations about the amount of fruits that you should eat per day. We usually say 2 to 3 servings. We want you to include a variety of vegetables daily. We also want you to include more peas, beans, and nuts in your daily meals. Reduce your intake of salty and processed foods, and to reduce your intake of fats and oils, and that of sugary foods and drinks. You aim for foods that have high sources of fiber, such as your whole wheat bread, whole grain rice, flour, more of your ground provisions. They will give you fiber, right? And that will slow down the rate at which your body breaks down the food, so you won't have a rapid increase in your blood sugar levels versus if you eat foods that are low in these added fibers. When you're having alcohol as a person living with diabetes is not to have it on an empty stomach, because it gives the risk of lowering your blood sugar. And also what we want you to do is that once you have diabetes, we do not really recommend the mixed drinks, so as to say, because they usually have a sweetened base. For women, it's usually you can have a drink per day, and for men is no more than 2 drinks. And what is a drink? Usually for beer, it's not more than 12 ounces. And for like a shot, it's usually a shot, which is about 1.5 ounces. And for wine, recommendation is usually about 5 ounces thereabout.
There are several researches that have shown that physical activity, when done properly, for persons who are diabetic, again, you heard it, allows you to use up glucose. For children, the recommendation is at least 60 minutes, 5 days a week of moderate to vigorous activity, and it must be a combination of muscle and bone strengthening activity. That's the recommendation for our children. For adults, it's at least 30 minutes, 5 days a week to get some health benefit, meaning increased circulation, reduced stress. And for the elderly, it's at least 30 minutes, 5 days a week. If you're a diabetic patient, these are some of the activities that are very good for you. Swimming, jogging, dancing, these activities, they're not very vigorous. You maintain them at a low to moderate pace, and it's a very effective way of managing and controlling your blood glucose or your blood sugar. If you are going to start a physical activity program, that you check with your doctor before you start, because if you have a condition, if you're diabetic, hypertensive, you have any other medical condition, your doctor will determine the intensity level, the type of activities that you can do.
Persons living with diabetes mellitus have multiple psychosocial issues related to diabetes management and its complications even before COVID. And there's an entity called diabetic distress. It refers to the negative emotions such as feeling hopeless, angry, or frustrated that persons who are diagnosed with diabetes experience, especially if they lack social support. I must mention we have the mental health helpline, which is 888-639-5433, or simply remember 888-NEW-LIFE, which is a 24-hour, 7 days per week psychological support produced by psychologists. When you call this number, they can provide emotional support for you. If you are feeling any form of emotional distress, they can provide support for you, and where you need additional help, they will direct you to additional help.
Lowering the sodium content in children's diets today can help prevent heart disease later in their life, especially for those who are overweight. Shake the salt habit, shop smart and cook smart. Use less or no salt when cooking. Try using fresh herbs and seasonings to add more flavor. Limit the consumption of salty snacks. Take the time to carefully read the nutrition labels on food products to identify those high in salt and choose the healthier options. Remember, no more than 2 grams of salt per day from all food sources for children under 11 years of age.
Have an illegal gun or know someone who does? The gun amnesty program begins November 5 to 19. Surrender the guns to the nearest police station, the FLA, or a lawyer. Your identity will be protected.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
We're near the end of our journey through the pages of Jamaica Magazine, but before that, let us continue to inspire you with another story of hope and change. We're highlighting the transformational leadership of one school principal as he helps to guide the nation's children on the right path.
Through a joint effort between the Ministries of National Security and Education and Youth, a 25-school strategy has been established to assess, recommend, intervene, and support students who exhibit maladaptive behavior. The project was also established to inform administrators, parents, and the government of the underlying reasons a child might act out violently and disruptively. St. James High School was one of the 25 institutions chosen to start the evaluation process. One reason for this is that students attending this institution were notorious for engaging in violent activities, as evidenced by disturbances, altercations, stabbings, and even fatalities. With this negative reputation and reality, the future for students here seemed uninspiring and disheartening for administrators and parents. But one change would be the catalyst for transformation. Joseph Williams was appointed principal of the institution and took on the job resolved to see a positive new path for St. James High. He arrived determined to instill hope in both the students and the surrounding community that anything is possible.
I came here April 1, 2004 to a school which it was said was in a bad state in terms of students' conduct, performance, all negative things about it. When I came, it was like permanent recess. Students were always outside, unruly, fights and all. So I had my plans from early as to what I would do to change things. I went to Church Teachers College. I specialize in social studies and geography, and social studies is key. It's about people, and so that was a key factor. And then my upbringing, and then I believe in God.
After working in the educational system for 18 years, Mr. Williams knows a thing or two about how to enforce discipline. So he employed the 3 C's method: conduct, content, and covenant management. He was convinced that these steps were necessary to steer the institution in the right direction. Mr. Williams' overarching goal became behavior management while utilizing strategies to increase students' skill sets, learning capacities, and interpersonal interactions.
The mission of St. James High School is to establish and manage an atmosphere conducive to the holistic development of each child, teacher, and all other members of the school community, embracing the fact that discipline is the essence of education, while preparing students at all times through caring and sharing, and we strive toward better living.
The mission was initially impeded by what Mr. Williams perceived as a fundamental problem for children who found it difficult to accept discipline as an integral element of education.
I remember many of these boys would say, "Sir, I don't have no father, sir. I don't know no father, sir. Then kill my father, sir." And I'm saying, why? So I had to back up. So it came to me now that there were so many here That's a population of over 2,400. And it seems like I couldn't find 200 students here who live with mother and father. I declared from this balcony here to the students that I am the father.
And with the assistance of Michelle Pinnock, the Ministry of Education's Regional Director for St. James, the work became doable.
I think she understands what we are going through at the school and what is needed. And I'm satisfied with how much she will cooperate with us.
As it is now, it is a school that many parents want to send their children to. Before, you used to have parents wanting to remove their children, but now it's a school of choice, really a school of choice.
So in every school, the teachers, the principal, teachers, everybody there should accept the students. That's where you were.
And for the family support.
Parenting needs to be strengthened. Parenting. Parents must take charge. You cannot have people becoming parents and you are weak. You cannot allow a gang leader to take your child.
And so, through perseverance, a once lost school was restored. In the words of Principal Williams, it is the attitude that determines the altitude, and then, above all else, give love.
Crime and violence is infecting our youth. We must work together to rescue them from the gangs, engage them in productive activities, and safeguard Jamaica's future.
And this is where we end today's journey inside Jamaica Magazine. Be sure to join us tomorrow for another show. Until then, there is more to watch by visiting our website, jis.gov.jm. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Theodore Henry. Until next time, take care and walk good.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.